Right, welcome everyone. In 1 minute, we will begin our Hacky Hour pose estimation for real-world applications. We have a great presentation and demonstration in store for you all today. All right, let's get started. Hi everyone, my name is Lizzie Alves. I'm part of the marketing department here at alwaysAI, and I want to thank you all for joining us today for Hacky Hour. Hacky Hour is an event that is designed for our community to share new product releases, do code demos, and have engaging exercises in an interactive format. We will continue to host new Hacky Hours when we have new product releases to share with our community. Feel free to utilize the chat window or raise your hand throughout the presentation to ask questions, and we'll answer them as promptly as we can. If you're joining us for the first time and you're new to alwaysAI, please make sure that you visit alwaysai.co to sign up for a free account to start your computer vision journey today. Today, we will show you how to easily get started using pose estimation with alwaysAI and demonstrate how to apply audio feedback. We will also show you how to use pose estimation as an instructional video and discuss a variety of use cases in manufacturing, ergonomics, sports analysis, and dance. In our next Hacky Hour, we will show you how to configure the app to detect your own body movements in real time. Now I'm going to hand it over to Matt London, our machine learning engineer here at alwaysAI, and he's going to kick things off.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, sounds good. Well, welcome to Hacky Hour. This is a special on pose estimation, and we're going to discuss that a bit and show you how to run it in alwaysAI application. And we're going to focus on posture correction applications that help you to monitor and help you to change your posture in different activities. And we'll even show you how to record videos and your own posture movements to help for instructional videos. And we'll go into a little bit on how to configure these apps for your own purposes to add your own movements to it. But in future Hacky Hours, we'll go a little bit more in depth into that. So next slide, please. So what is pose estimation? It's been around for a while. Classic computer vision algorithms were used in the past to detect these key points, mostly based on certain feature extractors. It's essentially, it associates and tracks these key points and connects with these lines that you see here. More recently, deep learning methods use convolutional neural networks for regression prediction, which has made it much more accurate than classic computer vision techniques. So that's what we use now, and pretty much everyone does. And so next slide, please. So if you don't already have the alwaysAI CLI app, go ahead to this website that you see here, and you can follow the instructions for your operating system, and that'll guide you through it, and you can refer to the tutorial for more info. And next slide, please. So this first application we're going to go over was designed by another one of our engineers, Lilla Mullaney, and it helps you to tells you when you're slouching at your desk. So this really helps with ergonomics, and it is very helpful because it can play an audio feedback, but it will also give you text feedback. So I'll demonstrate it in a second, but first go over this basic configuration of an alwaysAI app. Is create an empty folder for the app and configure it, create a project name, enter the project name, and in this case, we'll be installing from a GitHub repo, but you'll also have the option to install from a project that you already have set in our project directory on our website, if you like. And you can choose your destination, but in this demo, in this Hacky Hour, I'll be showing the local computer, but you can also go to our website and see a wide range of remote devices you can use. And then Command AI app installed and start. And I'll demonstrate it, share my screen. So, and it should be said that the I'm using Windows here, which has been shown to be the best with sound compared to Linux, at least, using sound and these apps. And PowerShell is what is recommended to run these apps in. So I'll go to the folder, and from here, I'll even go a bit over the basic structure. Our applications use this EdgeIQ backend, and it's loading the model here that you'll be able to see on our model catalog. You can even the model that we use is this human pose model. And as you can see, there are many of these other devices you can use this on. And using the webcam video stream. And this kind of goes into how you could, touches on how you could configure it for your own, where it's taking these key points and it's checking if by this -1, it's checking if that point is, if it's in the frame, essentially. And then you're saying if the left shoulder is greater than the left ear by 180 pixels, then they're not leaning forward correctly. And so I'll start it. And can take about a minute to warm up. So while it's warming up, I'll even set up the camera, and it'll be showing on your local host. And sometimes it'll say it can't be reached, but it's really waiting for that to say it's starting to stream. And you can see it's saying sit in my chair, I was slouching. So if I'm down like this, it's showing these key points really need to be at a certain distance. And so it'll alert me to not be slouching. And I'll even show you how to add audio feedback to another app that can be added to this as well. And so let's see, I'll stop sharing this and we can go to the next slide. So this next app is called the LiftPose app that I just designed. And it's based off of that last one, but it essentially tells you when to bend your knees for lifting purposes. And this one does use sound. I'll show it. It's a little bit different. Wait, let me share my screen. So it's a little bit different in that it's looking at a range. It's really checking if the right shoulder and the right knee and the right hip are in the frame, and the right shoulder is at a certain distance from the hip in the X direction, and the knees aren't bent, then bend your knees. This is really how you can configure it for your own ways. We'll go even more into detail another time. And so it should be started here. I'll go ahead and show it. So it is, as you can see, I'm going to have to reconfigure the camera.
Bend your knees, bend your knees, bend your knees, bend your knees, bend your knees.
And it's a little
Bend your knees.
sensitive, but it'll show that
Bend your knees, 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 bend your knees. Bend your knees, bend your knees, bend your knees, bend your knees.
Lizzie, are you able to hear the audio there?
Yes.
Oh, you heard the bend your knees?
Yes, we did.
Okay. That's it. On Zoom, we had trouble with that, but
bend your knees, bend your knees, bend your knees.
So, and this is where the range thing can be kind of fine tuned, but
bend your knees, bend your knees, bend your knees, bend your knees, bend your knees.
You're able to get it to a
bend your knees, bend your knees, bend your knees.
To where it's more sensitive, to where it's more accurate. And the audio for that, the way we got audio in this is the using simple audio, and we have found currently we are working on some issues in Linux, but I found, because it's a Linux Docker situation and they don't play too friendly, but definitely contact us if you really want to run it on a Linux device. It will help you set that up, but it should run pretty straightforward in Windows and Mac. And I think that's pretty much it for showing this one. We can go a bit more. Actually, the bend your knees sound, it was a recording that comes back. This is from Simple Audio, and so you can record this, and a WAV file is recommended compared to an MP3, and that's in the GitHub repo where it comes with this. We can record your own, and you really just create a wave object from the wave file and have it play when you want it to run at that certain point. And what I even set up here in terms of recording is, yeah, I could even go into this now. In the way to record your video is, I could even demonstrate it, show it a little bit better. And this is, you add in a basic alwaysAI app with EdgeIQ, you would add this EdgeIQ video writer as a write context and give it the output path. The folder needs to be already created, but the name for the video you would have, and they want to be created, you'd add. And it's important that this the cam index is correct, where 0 is the integrated webcam and 1 would be the webcam. And typically you'll have this with EdgeIQ webcam video stream as video stream and streamer as streamer. We'd add this, the write context, as video writer. And everything else you have down here. And until you'd want to write the frame, video writer, write frame, the frame, and that's really all. And then it'll write to MP4 is really the best to go with. And so that's it for this app. I'll stop sharing. We can go to the next slide. When I see some comments, one from Dennis Z, that could be a good rap beat. Yeah, because as you could see, it kept saying bend your knees, bend your knees. That was at every frame, where that is a challenge in live streaming, where I have attempted to have it wait a certain amount of frames to repeat, but it kind of overloads the system. And so when you're creating your own, it could be good to just have it one phrase like bend, or especially if it's a stop and go thing, like stop or go, or you could make a rap song out of it. Whatever you want to do with it. And okay, and the link for the LiftPose app is there. And on that whole alwaysAI GitHub site, you can find all our apps there. And okay, the live dancing with pose estimation. We had the idea that trying to reach younger audiences, and a lot of young people like TikTok dancing I've seen. And so, and I even like it too. I'll share. So what I did is I did this famous TikTok dance called I Can Be Your Sugar, and recorded it with pose estimation in the same way you saw the MP4 recorded. And actually, I recorded even the tutorial of it with pose estimation. It helped me follow along with it. And I'll even I'll show myself following along with myself, because we couldn't get rights to showing other people's stuff. But I'll go ahead and demonstrate this. Okay, so this is me doing the I'm Your Sugar dance. And it's by following the tutorial. And you can see, this is just an example of using pose estimation to kind of help guide in these specific movements. And I found it helpful to follow along with the points. So I'll go ahead and this is what I'm going to play, is just a basic posture detector app, where we have that, and that's what this can record. What I just showed for recording is really just the basic posture estimator that we have, where it will just play back the posture. and it is still warming up. But as we'll even mention, go into more depth later, is for sports analytics and other things, this can really be used. Okay, so I'll go ahead and demonstrate and as you can see, it lists the key points here, and this is something else to mention is the use of this playback, the text playback, for helping with prompts. And now the frame rate can be kind of a slow, but that's why this video feedback is can be helpful, because you can slow down that rate to the frame rate of the playback. And these are really just technical things that we have to improve, is playback speed and being able to handle more processing power. But that's really what I found helpful in by having this, because you can really even slow down the speed. This is a VLC media player, so you can slow it down pretty slow to help you really learn those moves, along with I can demonstrate I stopped it. I'll have to, well, like I'll even, as you can picture, you're able to do golf swings, baseball, bowling, and even different manufacturing movements for helping someone to learn how to do a specific job. And I'll stop sharing right here, and we'll go to the next slide. So, yeah, as I was mentioning, this is really good for ergonomics, the posture corrector app, which can be really good for an everyday use. And you can add the simple audio to play back to tell you when you're slouching. Can be really helpful for people that may have back problems or neck problems, to remind them. And you can even do it for sleeping. Like if you want to sleep in a certain way, it can remind you. And for all types of methods, and sports analysis that we're mentioning, and for which can be, like I was mentioning, the playback, where you can really, that's what really helped me even learn that dance, because I can't do that because that was just that it was recorded on the first try, because I slowed everything down, basically very slow, and was able to learn those moves. So you can even impress your friends by recording it very slow, and then you play back at normal speed, and looks like you know how to do the dance. And for robotics, then it says also great for crowd panic detection, I think. I guess, yeah, to see if you see like people running around. I don't know if you could clarify on that. I'm not exactly sure. I guess you're meaning like if everyone's in a crowd is panicking. And that's where kind of robotics comes in, is it'll detect these certain movements, and even you can detect the frame rate, and where you could have it in like old folks' homes or healthcare, where so if it sees a robot, or even the camera itself just sees someone laying prone on the ground for a while, it can alert for help or signal help. And even certain movements, head movements, are used to signal robots and even train robots for themselves to do those particular movements. So there's a lot that can be done with that. And that's where a lot of these edge devices that you'll see in our model catalog can be applied to. And as I showed, the entertainment for dance and acrobatics, gymnastics, even acting, anything you really want to track and even model after, and even for any like computer game developers, and it's for CGI use. You'll see like a lot of green screen stuff they do, and then the programmers pretty much build the animation over that. Really helps with getting sort of basically a model for real human movement. And so there's a lot that can go in that it can be used for. We can go to the next screen. Steve asks, are you going to show the code for the application and walk through it? Yes, that's our chief technical officer. So we'll definitely go through it. Yeah, I mean, I'll definitely go back and go through it a bit more, answer some questions. But if there are many other real world applications, and if to learn more, any questions, comments, email us at contact@alwaysai.co. You can see these links for the tutorial and for the models for these apps. There are many other apps at alwaysAI. Besides just posture correction, we do object detection and segmentation, and pretty much cover all computer vision capabilities. And so, let's see, and as you see, you can also join our Discord server, which is a great way to get in touch. Yeah, I'll go ahead and share my screen and go over the code a bit more. And if you can type any questions into the chat that you have specifically. We had Liz and Lizzie. Did you have any questions?
Yeah, actually, I do. Can I use these apps on devices besides a laptop?
Yes. Yes. Like I was even mentioning, specifically these devices that are listed here, they can be used on, and that's really what we even specialize in, is edge devices. And so you can go to this model catalog and choose by device, framework, and can even help you with your data sets and preparing those for training. And yeah, we'll help you with that right here on the website. Any other questions?
Yeah, I have one more question. What types of pose estimation did you use for these apps?
This was a 2D bottom-up model where there's also 3D, and there's many other types. But this was more of the more modern ones use this, the 3D bottom-up version.
Cool, thank you, Matt.
Yeah, the top-down, it runs a person detector first and estimates the body joints with the detected bounding boxes. There's the planar model, which is contour-based, And there's a volumetric model, which is a 3D pose estimation, which is very useful for computer games and modeling based on that. It's much more computationally expensive, but it's very good for video games and other animation. Let's see. And I should mention the inference. In our model catalog, you're able to run all these apps free of charge. And for training, you can contact to use our cloud training, you can contact our customer service to create your own models. And which is, let me show this model catalog again. So like all these are pre-trained models. So you'd be able to use these pre-trained models and create it for your own particular, where pose estimation, probably not, I guess, if you wanted to, this is all human. If you wanted to use pose, because this probably wouldn't work well for like animals, but like for use, there's a lot of, like trail cams to monitor. I know even around San Diego, and highways where they'll have trail cams to monitor animals that are crossing those areas. So you could detect specific animals, and that's where you would need to create a new model based off of these models. If you're able to find a lot of these wild animals to train on, but that's how you do it. But more for object detection and things, you could train your own. That would really help to train your own new model. And so I'll go over this a bit more. If there aren't any specific questions.
We do have one question in the chat from Dennis. Can you run a pose estimation model with additional computer vision models in one computer vision app through alwaysAI?
Yes, you can. You're able to run the posture detection and object detection at the same time, and probably even semantic segmentation, which we're really going to be building up pretty soon. And that can be very helpful with many things, especially in manufacturing, because in manufacturing, for example, the segmentation is used for monitoring defects, and could really help with really precise noticing hazards, and then posturing would help for correcting that posture. Where it's a big use in manufacturing is for the pose estimation, is detecting if someone's in a hazardous movement, and even if someone's under the influence of something and they're starting to fall over, like into the machines or something, it would help to be able to recognize that. But yeah, you can run multiple models with alwaysAI. Any other questions? So as you can see, I created this new empty directory, a Lift app dir right here. And from this point, I would go through it in real time, but it takes a little bit to install it, especially when you have a lot of models. But like I mentioned earlier, by doing the AI app configure, that will configure it as an alwaysAI application. And so when you have your AAI CLI, you can type AAI or even AIH, and it gives you a list of these different commands. So you do want to make sure you have the right user. And so this will show you the user that's logged in. And if to log in correctly, you do AAI user login. So all these commands, you just put AAI before. And you're able to even annotate, and you're able to see your different models as it'll show when you do the AI app configure. Actually, I may as well just go through it because we do have some time. So from here, I'll make a new directory, call it the new app, and go to it. And so now I'll configure it as an app. And you can see I'll create a new project here. And the new project name is, let's call it the new project. And this will go up to your model. I'll show the model catalog again, because if you're not familiar or are familiar, you're able to go to your specific projects that you have, and it'll be a project directory that that'll have your own. So these are all projects I've created that are stored here, and which you can even register a device, which when it said create new project, it also listed all those apps there, and I could have chosen from that. And that's one way you can use multiple models, because you can add multiple models to the project and then add more models from here. So you can do there are multiple ways you can initialize it from a starter app. In this case, it'll be from a Git repo. And so I'll come to here and get this URL. And that'll clone this into the directory. And so this is where you're able to choose from remote device. In my case, a local computer. And as I was mentioning, on Windows, it is recommended to do this all in PowerShell. And then at this point, you can see it installed all this and set up the project and the target device. And now from here, I'll do AI app install. And this is the step that the more models you have, the longer it can take. But with this, probably shouldn't take too long. So this creates a virtual environment and essentially creates a Docker image. And from this point, AI app start should start it, and it'll run the same app that I just showed. And now this, as you can see it, this is a error because it couldn't find the camera, and that's probably because I didn't specify the right camera index to use. So you come to app and down to the camera, see cam 0, and I think most computers have trouble with integrated cameras in certain apps, but the webcam seems to work pretty well. So you just change that here, and I have it on autosave. As you can see, I use Visual Studio Code, and that's one thing. If you do find errors, it's best just to go with the straight PowerShell here, or your bash terminal in Linux, something besides an IDE, especially if there can be permission issues and things. And so by changing that cam to 1, that index, it should be running, and it'll be running on localhost. Now just bring you to your localhost, and as we've seen, it can take a little while to warm up. So especially if you want to be detecting something at a certain time, it's best to start it up at least a minute before, because it just needs to connect to all the camera devices. And really, inference time is pretty much default. So it's detecting at each frame at 0.3 seconds per frame. And this is the bend your knees app that we just showed. And so to go over this particular app, have there been any more questions in the chat?
Not so far.
Okay. So in this case, in this app, there is this scale file, which I haven't found totally important if you're a normal human size, but it can be helpful for smaller people or very large people, where you can change the scale. Because since it is by pixels, a larger or smaller person it can make a difference. So you're able to increase that or decrease that based on size. And so it loads the JSON, this config file here, and it'll help to tell you if it exists or not. And so as I mentioned here, this is where you would load your whatever model you have. And in this case, for pose estimation with other types, object detection or segmentation, it would all be under the EdgeIQ class. It'd just be a different type of inference, different type of model. And in this case, the accelerator here is a CPU, but you can also use GPU. We recommend you even visit our doc. We have a lot of documentation on our website that goes over where we give these specific commands and to basically guide you through these different programming your own apps. These are all really just kind of a basic framework for you to build off of. And definitely the video writer for recording. It doesn't come default because we try to be as lightweight as possible, and it, of course, will keep writing that MP4 as long as it's playing, unless you tell it not to. But it is a good way for analysis afterwards. And these are printed to the screen, where this prints the model, the engine, and the accelerator. Actually, it prints it here in the command line. You'll see that it's this, where this is, if you want to append anything to the actual window, like this window, like inference time and things, that would be here, like the key points. And where even while building this app in the Lift, these posture corrector and this LiftPose, I would have the specific key coordinates printed out, so I could see what range I needed to put these in. And The one I just showed, I just will only detect from the right side, but this has been updated so it'll get the left side too. And the way this is set is it returns false if, and by false, it's saying the knees aren't bent. And essentially, I mean, it could take a while to go through it all, but like I mentioned, you do want to check that it's in the frame, because you can see when it first started, when it was just my face, it didn't detect anything. But in some ways, it may not even be totally necessary, as long as, and there might be some errors. So you might want to have it there. I haven't even tried that. But so it's saying if my shoulder, my knee, my hip are in the frame, basically by not there, and it's in this range, int range, because range needs int. And this is where the scale comes in. But if in terms in this case, if the shoulder, this is all X coordinates. So keep in mind, you can do things in Y coordinates to even make it more accurate, to 30 pixels. And as I was mentioning, it's really if I'm bent over and my knees aren't within a range of 30 to 500 pixels, which is a little much, but just to give it that room, then that means my knees aren't bent, and I need to bend my knees. And let's see. Okay, the message will be built here. So all these, this is, yeah, I don't know how much I should go through it, but it's essentially, let me split the screen here. So in the main app, which the app actually inherits from this check posture class, and it checks for the correct posture, where correct posture, it will return all knees bent. So if it's false, especially if all this is happening, then it means the knees are not bent. And it'll check and return that the knees are not bent, or else it'll return true. And what I found here is that it's, for some reason, it does need, even if it is true, it does need to return just build message is nothing. But it'll build the message here if it's false, if not correct posture. And that's where the build message will occur, as bend your knees, or so if it's false, then bend your knees. If not, I mean, if it is true, then nothing. And that's where it'll play the object. It'll send to the streamer these poses. And so you can see where the inference is happening is, so when the video stream starts, you give it time to warm up, and the posture actually starts this check your posture class, and it'll go frame by frame, get each result, inference of each result, add text to it, and for each pose in these results, it'll give the key point. It's essentially for each frame. It'll give the person the key points and give these messages it'll it'll send the data, the results to the streamer, and here is where it is written to video, and then it exits when it's when you stop it. Let me show it is best practice to, when you want to stop it, to click this red stop square, and that'll stop the app. And let's see, have there been any more questions?
Not yet. We have a little bit more time before we should close it out.
Okay. Let's see. So to go over it, this is the model file, the configuration file for a human image pose. It's an Onyx model. You can modify different parameters here, but it's essentially this is more of like a template, but this is where you can really edit the files. Here's the Onyx model that you can use if you want to actually edit the binaries. And let's see. I think what else I can go over. Let me actually go to our website, our docs. So you can see here, this is in our EdgeIQ API. And we have all these all this documentation here. So this, in the pose, these are all the basically key points that'll come: nose, neck, right shoulder. And this will show you all these different classes and the different objects in those. And so this is really where you would go to the EdgeIQ API to get information on the code behind our classification, object detection, segmentation, and background subtractor, all these. And we, as you were able to see, that CVAT annotation tool, we can help with annotation. But as this has been, we are focusing on pose estimation. We'll go more into in the future on how to really modify these to different movements. I'll add in some different movements and even live coding of setting these and trying them out. So it'll be a more flow through of the coding process and the testing process. But my setup has been I have a tripod and a webcam setup, but it will work just as well on other edge devices. So looks like we have a couple minutes left for any more questions, if we have those.
Yeah, great presentation, Matt. If anyone has any further questions, they can email us at contact@alwaysai.co. If you're interested in seeing our product in action, our team loves to do demos. You can schedule a demo by visiting alwaysai.co/schedule-demo. And if you'd like to watch this Hacky Hour again, it will be available on our blog at a later time. Once again, thank you everyone for joining us for Hacky Hour today, and we hope to see you in for our next Hacky Hour, part 2 of this topic.